Okay, now we are in chapter 4. Chapter 4 is about central tendency measures. Okay, central tendency measures means that we are going to measure the average, the mean, the mode, median, and so on that represents parameter for sample or population that come from data which we collect during our study. Okay, objectives of these topics is to compute, as I mentioned earlier, to compute the mean, median, and mode, to approximate the 3Ms. 3Ms represent when we mention 3Ms in these presentations. It means the three components, which is mean, median, and mode. To approximate the 3Ms using group data set, to approximate value of median and mode using graphical forms, to interpret the values of the 3Ms, to determine the shape of distribution based on 3Ms, to recommend which measure is the best in representing the data. So these are all objectives that we are going to achieve throughout these topics, these chapters. Okay, now when we look at a distribution of data, we should consider three characteristics. Okay, we have learned in chapter 2 about distribution of data, how data is presented in a histogram form or in other type of graph form. So we will look at the three characteristics. First, look at the shape of the data distribution, and we will look at the center, meaning that data, which value of data is focused on any number. Okay, we can see data will be focused, or data will be approaching most data will approach certain value. So that will be the center of the distribution. Okay, and we also will be looking at the spread or the variation of the data from the center. Okay, so majority of the center or majority of the data will be located at the center. Okay, majority of the data will be located at the center. That is what we call central tendency measurement. And then once we identify the center, we will be looking at the spread of data from the center. So other data, what is the gap between each data and the center? So that will be the spread or the variation, and we call this dispersion measurement. So with this characteristic, we can numerically describe the main features of the data set. So these three characteristics will be the features of the sample that we collect. So that will we give the identity or the attributes to that data that we have collect. Okay, so based on these three characteristics, and we may describe about the behavior of the data in a much simpler form. So once we are able to identify these three characteristics, so we will represent these three characteristics into a simpler notation, in simpler form, so that we are able to use that notation for further calculation. Okay, so this is one example of how we present data in a histogram form. Okay, the center is in the center part from the first data until the last data that we have collected. Okay, so once we do some calculation, we are able to find where is the center. We will locate where is the center of the data range. Okay, and then shape, we will be looking at the shape of the graph or this histogram. So we are able to determine which data will be the most often or most frequent appear in the distribution, and which will be the least occur in the distribution. So that will be the shape of this data. So this is the shape of the data. And the spread, meaning the variation. Spread of the data is the variation. So how difference is one data and another data to the center that we identify in the data collection. So these are the three characteristics that we need, which is important to be determined during our data representation. Okay, central tendency measurement give the center of a histogram or a frequency distribution. Okay, so from the data which is represented by histogram, we will be able to find the center of how often or how frequent the data appear in the distribution. So this is to report a typical value that is representative of the data. Three common measures of central tendency is, so this is the 3M that we have mentioned earlier. Mean is the arithmetic means, median and mode. So these are the three most common measures for central tendency. So earlier we have learned about group and ungrouped data set. So our raw data or ungrouped data set will be something like this, and group data which can be represented by frequency distribution can be represented in this form. Okay, from ungrouped data we transform it into group data. Okay, mean, arithmetic means. How do we measure mean? The most frequently used measure of central tendency. So mean is very important. So we common use mean to represent the central tendency of data. So if we imagine each data value to be a weight, then the mean is the point at which the data set balances. So kita nak boleh tengok data range tu, mean tu berada di tengah-tengah, mana dia balance kedudukan antara satu data dengan data yang lain. So normally kita akan kira kalau ni data kita 68, 78, 83, 85, 92. So this is like an average. Kita kira average of data. So mark ni 68 plus 78 plus 83 plus 85 plus 92, and then divide by how many data? Divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So total of this number plus divide by 5 will give us the mean, which is 81.2. Okay, for mean there are two type of mean which give us different symbol or different notation. Population mean is given by mu. Okay, population means that purata yang kita data daripada populasi, daripada populasi itu itself. So that will be given by symbol mu. If data comes from population, mana kita ambil data daripada population kajian kita tu, kita kira jumlahkan semua data daripada population, dan divide by number of population akan bagi mean symbol mu. Okay, kalau data kita daripada sampel, kita ambil out of population, kita ambil sampel 200 for example. So kita ambil nilai-nilai bagi 200 data tu and then divide by 200. That is called sample mean. And symbol for sample means is X bar, which is data comes from sample. Okay, mean of a data set is the sum of the observation divided by the number of observation. So this is how we calculate mean. Okay, from population, symbol used is mu. So the calculation of mean is total. So this sigma symbol means total from data 1. I equal to 1, start mean data, start from data 1 until last data, which is size of the sample. Okay, xi means that data number 1 plus data number 2 plus data number 3 and so on. So we will use this formula to find mean for population. Okay, mu means that symbol for mean population. Sigma xi start from I equal 1 means that sum of all values. So data-data dari populasi tu kita tambah semua sekali. So in short, we use sigma to represent sum of all values. And n is the population size, means that how many data that we collect from population. Okay, for sample, the formula used is x bar, symbol used is x bar, and the formula is summation of xi, I from 1 until n. Okay, n is the sample size. Xi means that data daripada sample, data 1, 2, 3 until how many data that we collect from sample. Okay, x bar is the mean sample. Summation xi means that sum of all values of the sample data, and n is the sample size or number of observation. Okay, this is to calculate the mean for ungrouped data and group data. Okay, for ungrouped data, mean is given by summation of xi over n. Okay, process is by we sum up all the observation in the ungrouped data and then we divide by how many observations there are in the ungrouped data. Kita tambah semua sekali data tersebut, jumlahkan nilai value-value bagi data tersebut, kemudian divide by how many data dalam ungrouped data tu. Okay, for group data, sebab group data ni dia ada frekuensi. So, kita kena involve frekuensi. Okay, mean untuk group data is given by formula summation of Fi. Fi ni adalah frekuensi, kelas frekuensi. Okay, and Xi adalah midpoint. Okay, prosedur dia adalah compute the midpoint of each class. So, remember midpoint dalam earlier slide in chapter 2. Macam mana kita dah boleh kira midpoint untuk kelas. Okay, midpoint untuk kelas tu adalah xi. Okay, is found by taking average of the lower class and the lower limit of the next larger class. Okay, step 2, multiply the class midpoint by the class frequency. Setiap each class kategori tu akan ada frekuensi which is given by F1. F1 ni frekuensi untuk kelas 1, F2 frekuensi untuk kelas 2. Okay, X1 adalah midpoint untuk kelas 1, X2 adalah midpoint untuk kelas 2 and so on. Okay, now sum the product. Jumlahkan Fi, Xi, X1, X1 tambah F2, X2 tambah X3, X3 and so on. And then total by jumlah of frequency. Jumlah of frequency normally adalah number of observation. Okay. Okay, example. During a semester, a student took 5 exams. The population of exam scores is 78, 83, 92, 68 and 85. Now find the mean and interpret the value. Okay, so daripada ni kita boleh kira mean daripada jumlah semua data ni, jumlahkan summation, tambahkan semua. Then divide how many observation. How many? Ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then divide by 5. So the answer is mean for student marks is 81.2. Okay, now the following table shows the speed of 30 cars measured at certain checkpoint. Interpret the value. So daripada sini jumlahkan semua. This is ungroup data. Jumlahkan semua. Divide by how many data yang ada. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, divide. Okay, so akan ada 30 divide by 30 cars. Jumlahkan semua ni divide by 30 cars. Okay, so the answer will be this one. Okay, so interpret the value. The value means that this is the speed of the average speed of the 30 cars. So meaning that the car will have a speed at the checkpoints. The average is 150450.13, meaning that each car the speed at each car at the checkpoint is given by this number, this value. Okay, example 2, for finding mean of group data. So the following table presents the number of text messages sent via cell phone by a sample of 50 high school students. Approximate the mean number of text message sent and interpret the value. So this is the number of text message sent. So this is the class for number of text message sent, the frequency, and from the frequency and from the class we find the class midpoints by calculate 49 the upper class and the lower class of the and the lower class of the following class. 49 plus 50 divided by 2. So we are able to get 24.5, and the rest calculation also goes the same for other class midpoints. And then the frequency F, frequency multiply FIXI, frequency multiplied by class midpoint. So we get this value for F times X. And the rest also the same for other classes. This one times this, make this one times this, makes this one. Total of frequency is 50, total of Fx is 682 Okay, next is the median. So median is a number that splits the data set in half. So that half the data values are less than the median and half of the data values are greater than the median. So as the meaning of the words is median. So it means that di antara, di tengah-tengah, di antara jarak antara yang first data dengan median sama dengan jarak antara median dengan the last data. So the procedure for computing the median differs depend on whether the number of observation in the data set is even or odd. So dia bergantung pada bilangan data size kita. Kalau even, pengiraan untuk median lain. Kalau odd, number of observations or data in samples, pengiraan untuk median is different. So this is the procedure of computing the median for ungrouped and group data. Okay, for ungrouped data, we need to arrange data in ascending order and then determine the depth of the median. Okay, depth of median is given by number of size of sample plus 1 divided by 2. So that will be the median. Okay. Okay, for group data, we need to construct cumulative frequency distribution. Cumulative frequency distribution ni adalah hasil tambah untuk frequency bagi setiap kelas. And then we determine the median class. From depth of median, it must be at least n over 2. Then compute the median from formula Lm plus n over 2 minus f over fm times I. Di mana n ni ada total frequency, total fi lah. Okay. And then f is cumulative frequency before class median. Hasil tambah frekuensi sebelum kelas bagi median untuk data yang kita calculate tu. And I is the class wide. Okay, berapa kelas yang ada, class wide meaning that lebar bagi kelas yang kita kira. Macam sebelum ni kita dah kira macam mana kita boleh dapat lebar bagi selang kelas tu. So that given by I. F of m is frequency of the class median. So class median kita identify dan kita tengok apa frekuensi yang diberikan. And then Lm is lower boundary of the class median. So bagi kelas median yang kita identify, so what is the lower data, lower nilai bagi kelas pada kelas median tersebut. So that will be the Lm. Okay, example 3, median, to find median for ungrouped data. Okay, during a semester, a student took 5 exams. The population of exam scores is given like this. Now find the median and interpret the value. Okay, median is Okay, the median is, so we have how many? Size of the sample is 5. So 5n plus 1, 5 plus 1 divided by 2. So the median is 3. Okay, so if the median is 3, so we need to um, we need to sort this in ascending order. So 68, 73, 83, 85 and 92. So the third data will be the median. So it means that median here is 68, 83, 85. So 85 will be the median. Okay, 85 will be the median. Okay, number 3 means that the sequence of the ascending data. Okay, one of the goals of medical research is to develop treatments that reduce the time spent in recovery. 8 patients undergo a new surgical procedure and the number of days spent in recovery for each is as follows. Now find the median and interpret the value. So median here means that, so how many data here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. Okay, 4.5. So if we means that we need to 4.5, meaning that data in 4 and 5. Data in 4 and 5. Okay, data in the 4 and 5. So we sort this in ascending order. Okay, so now, so so this is in the earlier slide. Okay, now 8 patients undergo a new surgical procedure and number of days spent in recovery for each as follows. Okay, again. So number of observation, number of size is 8. So 8 plus 1 divided by 2 is 4.5. Now we arrange in the ascending order. So we have data like this. So 4.5 meaning that 1, 2, 3, 4. Data number 4, 4.5 in between here. So we take 15 and 19. So 15 plus 19. So this is the even number of data. So we have 2 in the median, for median. So 15 plus 19 divided by 2. That will be the median. So answer here is 17.